Hi everyone, welcome to Enterprise Security episode on why every DLP deployments fails. This is Priyanka Neelakrishnan. Most enterprise DLP deployments fail, not underperform, not need tuning. They fail. I've spent over a decade building enterprise security products. I've built data security at large enterprises. I've watched Fortune 500 companies spend millions on DLP and end up with security teams who turn off the alerts because they can't keep up, or just keep the incident logs collected while no one looks at them. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you exactly why this happens and what the numbers actually look like and what the next generation of data security looks like. Let's get into it. Quick disclaimer before we go any further, everything I say in this video is my personal opinion. It does not represent the views of any current or past employer. Everything is based on public information, analyst reports, breach disclosures, industry research. And I have no financial relationship with any vendor if I mention any. Okay, now let's get actually into it. Here's the uncomfortable truth about DLP. The technology was designed for a world that no longer exists. Traditional DLP was built around three channels: email, endpoints, and the network perimeter. That made sense in 2008. Your data lived on file servers, your employees worked on company laptops, information left through email or USB drives. Today, your sensitive data flows through cloud applications your security team doesn't control. Browser based AI tools your employees signed up for last week, and SaaS platforms that didn't exist when your DLP was procured. Industry analysis from early 2026 confirms that legacy DLP architectures leave critical gaps because sensitive data now moves through cloud, collaboration platforms, SaaS applications, and Gen AI prompts. Channels where these tools provide little or no visibility. So, your DLP is watching the front door while the data walks out the back window. That's the first reason these deployments fail. But it's not the biggest one. The biggest reason DLP fails is something most vendors don't want to talk about: false positives. Research from 451 Research found that around 60% of DLP alerts are false positives. 60%. Imagine you're a security analyst, and for every 10 alerts you investigate, 6 of them are noise. You start to develop habits: faster dismissals, less thorough investigation. The industry calls this alert fatigue. I call it the moment your DLP stops protecting you. It gets worse. A broader 2023 study cited by security operations teams found that across all security tools, around 83% of daily alerts turn out to be false alarms, and 67% of alerts eventually get ignored entirely because analysts can't keep up. Now, think about what that means in practice. Your security operations center is processing hundreds of alerts a day. The team adapts, they triage faster, investigate less, and dismiss more. And then a real attack arrives, and it competes for attention in a queue that has been trained to expect noise. This isn't a hypothetical. The Target breach in 2013, one of the most studied breaches in industry history, happened despite Target's tools detecting the malicious activity early. The alerts were buried beneath routine noise. That's not a tooling problem, that's a fundamental design problem. So, why does this happen? Let me show you the mechanics. Legacy DLP works by matching patterns, regular expressions, keyword list, static rules. If a piece of data looks like a credit card number, that is 16 digits in a certain format, flag it. The problem is that pattern matching has no concept of context. It doesn't know whether the person sending the data is a finance employee doing their job or a contractor uploading customer records to their personal Dropbox. Both look the same to a regex. Industry research confirms this. According to a 2025 Gartner Market Guide for DLP, accurate data classification adds a layer to DLP detection, which minimizes false positives that introduce friction between security and business teams. Translation: without good classification, without the system actually understanding what kind of data it's looking at, DLP becomes a friction generator instead of a security tool. And here's where it spirals. The tool generates too many alerts. The security team responds by tuning rules to be more specific. The new rules miss real threats. So they add more rules. Each new rule adds more false positives. And the cycle continues. Forrester research has shown that 63% of organizations experience issues with slow IT response times when dealing with data protection requests. Users are frustrated, business teams complain, the DLP team becomes the most hated team in the company. Eventually, leadership stops believing in the program, budgets get cut, the deployment quietly fails. This is the pattern. I've seen it at every size of organization. It's almost always the same story. Now, here's what makes 2026 different: generative AI. Your employees are pasting source code into ChatGPT. They are uploading customer lists to AI assistants. They are asking large language models to summarize confidential financial documents. According to industry analysis from early 2026, enterprise adoption of Microsoft Copilot and browser based AI tools has introduced data flows that most DLP solutions were not designed to monitor. Your DLP can see any of this, not because your vendor is bad, but because the entire architecture was built for a world before generative AI. The data isn't moving through email. It's not crossing your network perimeter. It's being typed into a browser tab and sent to a third party API your security team has never heard of. When legal or compliance asks which sensitive data your AI tools can access, most traditional DLP tools simply cannot answer that question. That's not a gap, that's a category level failure of the technology. So, what does work? The industry is converging on a different approach. And if you are a security buyer, you should know what to look for. The shift is from rule based DLP to what's being called converged data security. It combines three things that used to be separate products: data security posture management, DSPM, which tells you where your sensitive data actually lives; modern DLP, which controls how it moves; and identity context, which tells you whether the person accessing the data should be accessing the data. The key insight is this: traditional DLP asked, Is this data sensitive? And modern data security asks, is this person accessing this data in this context doing something they should be doing? That's the shift. That's a fundamentally different question. And it's the only question that actually scales in a world of cloud applications, remote workers, and AI tools. If you're evaluating a data security product right now, here's what I'd look for. One, does it understand data, identity, and context together, or just one of them? Two, does it cover GenAI traffic and SaaS to SaaS data flows, or only email and endpoint? Three, what's the false positive rate in the proof of concept? Don't accept a vendor demo. Okay? Run their tool on your real traffic for 2 weeks. The false positive rate will tell you everything. If a vendor won't let you do that, that's your answer right there. Here's what I want you to take away from this video. DLP isn't dead, but the version of DLP most enterprises bought between 2010 and 2020 is dead. The architecture doesn't fit the world we operate in anymore. If you're a security leader, the question isn't whether to replace your DLP, it's whether you can articulate in one sentence what your DLP data security strategy is for the AI era. If you can't, your team is going to keep tuning rules and chasing false positives until the budget runs out. If this was useful, subscribe. I'm building this channel as a place where product builders and security leaders can talk honestly about what works and what doesn't in enterprise security. No vendor pitches, no hype, just the patterns I've seen across a decade of building these products. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, this is me, Priyanka Neelakrishnan. See you.